The man sitting across from me just told me that Jeffrey Epstein had hidden cameras in every single room of his private island, including the bathrooms. And he wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing it for Israel. That's not even the craziest thing he told me. He told me there was a Russian sleeper agent, an elementary school teacher, living in his neighborhood for 20 years. She taught children every single day. Nobody suspected a thing until they arrested her last year. He told me that right now, while you're watching this, your smart TV is listening to you, even when it's off. And if they wanted to, they could take control of your car's computer system and crash it into a tree. And you couldn't do anything to stop it. He told me there are 50,000 spies living in America right now, which means statistically, based on how many people you meet in a year, you're probably interacting with at least one of them, and you have no idea. The man telling me all of this? His name is John Kiriakou. He spent 15 years as one of the CIA's most accomplished spies. He briefed presidents in the Oval Office. He hunted Al-Qaeda. He led the raids that captured their top leaders. And then the United States government charged him with espionage, bankrupted him, and sent him to prison for 23 months. His crime? Telling the truth. What he told me in this conversation shattered everything I thought I knew about the world. And after you hear this, you'll never see reality the same way again. I'm not exaggerating. I really mean that. Let me take you back to where this all started. John told me that when he was 9 years old, he announced to his parents he wanted to be a spy when he grew up. Most kids grow out of childhood dreams. John didn't. At 22, while studying Middle Eastern politics at George Washington University, his professor pulled him aside after class. What John didn't know, his professor wasn't really a professor. He was a CIA officer, undercover, recruiting students. One phone call, one test, and John was it. Then he told me something that made my skin crawl. The CIA actively seeks people with what they call sociopathic tendencies. Not full sociopaths, those can't be controlled, but people who can operate in moral grey areas. People who can break into foreign embassies without feeling guilty. People who can lie to your face without flinching. I had to ask him directly, do you have sociopathic tendencies? He didn't even hesitate. Absolutely. John explained the asset acquisition cycle to me. Spot, assess, develop, recruit. It's basically how to manipulate people into betraying their country. Then he told me a story that perfectly illustrates how this works. In Pakistan, John spent weeks sitting in a coffee shop, drinking tea, reading an Arabic newspaper. He was targeting a mid-level Al-Qaeda fighter. For weeks, they just made eye contact, then a nod. Then finally, the man sat down with him. They talked about nothing important, about family. The fighter mentioned he had never met his son, born after he left to make jihad in Afghanistan. That was it. That was the vulnerability John needed. Weeks later, John revealed he was CIA. I asked him, did the guy pull a gun? Did he run? No, John said. He just gave me the information I needed. In exchange, a first-class ticket home to Cairo. When John asked why he agreed to betray Al-Qaeda, the fighter said something that I can't stop thinking about. I've been here 5 years. You're the first person who ever asked me about my family. Then I asked John the question that's been haunting me for years. What do you know about the reality we live in that the average person has absolutely no idea about? His answer made me want to throw my phone in a river. Nothing is secure. Nothing. He told me about something called the Vault 7 files. In 2017, a disgruntled CIA software engineer downloaded tens of thousands of classified documents, classified above top secret, and leaked them to WikiLeaks. These documents revealed that the CIA can remotely hack your car's computer system and crash it into a bridge or off a cliff. Turn your smart TV into a listening device that records everything you say, even when the TV is completely off. Access any device you own, your phone, your laptop, your tablet, whenever they want. And here's the crazy part. They can leave digital fingerprints in Russian or Chinese to make it look like someone else did it. I interrupted him. I had to know. Can they do that with my phone right now? The one sitting on this table? John looked at me. Absolutely. That's old technology. I felt sick. He kept going. Before 9/11, it was actually illegal to spy on Americans, like written into law. Now, billions of dollars are spent doing exactly that. The NSA, the CIA, the FBI, intelligence contractors. Your entire digital life, your metadata is for sale, and they don't need a warrant to buy it. John referenced a book by a Harvard law professor called 3 Felonies a Day. The argument? We're so overregulated in this country that the average American commits 3 felonies every single day without even knowing it. Which means if they want you, they can find something to charge you with. Always. Then John told me about something that honestly sounded like science fiction. Sleeper agents. Russia takes children, sometimes as young as 2 years old, and raises them to be American. They build entire fake American towns in the Russian countryside. These kids grow up watching American TV, eating American food, speaking perfect English with American accents. They know American pop culture, American sports teams, American everything. Then they're sent here with stolen identities, birth certificates from babies who died decades ago, real social security numbers, real passports. They look American. They sound American. They are American. Except they're not. They might work as a travel agent for 20 years, a teacher, an accountant, just living a normal American life, until one day they get a coded message on the radio and they're activated. I thought he was exaggerating. I really did. Then he said, there was a sleeper agent living in my neighborhood, an elementary school teacher. She taught kids for years. They arrested her last year and traded her back to Russia for 2 Americans. I looked it up after the interview. It's true. So I did some math. I had to know. How many spies do you think are in the United States right now? 50 to 60,000 altogether. Foreign spies, CIA, all of them. The US population is 330 million people. That means you'd need to meet about 6,600 people to statistically encounter one spy. The average person meets between 3,000 and 10,000 people per year, which means you're probably meeting at least one spy every single year. And you have absolutely no idea. I asked John who he thought was the most impressive spy agency in the world. Without hesitation, Israel. Then he told me about something that happened in 2023 that I honestly had to pause the interview to verify because I didn't believe it was real. The Israelis have no rules, John said, and he proved it with this story. Hezbollah, the terrorist group in Lebanon, was using pagers instead of cell phones because they didn't want the Israelis intercepting their calls. They thought pagers were safe. Old technology, untraceable. So Israel bought a pager company in Hungary. They inserted explosives into the devices. Then they shipped them through multiple countries, Taiwan, Thailand, Syria, before they finally reached Lebanon and Hezbollah bought them. Hundreds of Hezbollah operatives were walking around with bombs in their pockets, and they had no idea. Then, on one day, Israel activated them all simultaneously. Hundreds of explosions, all at once, across an entire country. John called it a work of genius. He also called it totally illegal. When he told me this, I made him repeat it because I thought I misheard. I actually looked it up during the interview. It happened. It's real. The Israelis also recruited Afghan refugees in Iran, people who were starving, invisible. They paid them $200 a month to identify where Iranian generals and nuclear scientists lived, what their cell phone numbers were. Then they systematically killed all of them. Every single one. But then John said something that completely changed my perspective on everything. The real adversary isn't Russia or Israel, it's China. I asked him why. He explained, while America spends over $1 trillion on the Pentagon, more than the next 8 countries combined, China is playing an entirely different game. They're not invading countries, they're building them. New highways across Africa, airports in Asia, hospitals in Latin America. They're spending their money on infrastructure, on development, on making other countries dependent on them. While we're going bankrupt buying weapons, they're buying the future. And John told me something else that I didn't want to believe. Chinese PhD students are in every major American university right now, studying hard sciences, physics, chemistry, engineering, computer science. And according to John, many of them are spying. How can you be so sure? I asked. Because we arrest them all the time and trade them for Americans in Chinese prisons. It happens constantly. China doesn't want results tomorrow. They plan 25 years ahead. Because unlike our 4-year election cycles where everything changes, they'll still be in power. Same government, same plan, same patience. After 9/11, John became the chief of counterterrorism operations in Pakistan. He led the raids that captured Abu Zubaydah, who at the time was believed to be Al-Qaeda's number 3. I asked him, how much did the US government pay for that intelligence? $10 million. Some sources, he told me, got $25 million. Just cash. Enough to pick any country in the world and disappear with a new identity forever. But then John learned something that would destroy his entire career and send him to prison. The CIA was torturing prisoners, and his superiors kept repeating over and over that it worked. That torture was getting intelligence that saved American lives. John knew that was a lie. It didn't work, it was illegal, it was immoral, and it was destroying what America was supposed to stand for. So in 2007, John went on ABC News and told the American people the truth. I asked him what happened next. The CIA director, John Brennan, wrote to the Attorney General and said, charge him with espionage and make him defend himself. They charged him with 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage. Espionage can be a death penalty case. 10 months later, John was completely bankrupt. $2 million in legal fees. His life was destroyed. Then they dropped the espionage charges and offered a deal. Take a plea to a lesser charge or roll the dice knowing the government wins 98.2% of its cases. John took the deal. He spent 23 months in federal prison for telling the truth. I had to ask, would you do it again? He didn't even pause. Tomorrow, I'd let them send me to prison again because it was the right thing to do. There was one question I absolutely had to ask. It's something I've been obsessed with for years, and I knew John would give me a real answer. Do you think Jeffrey Epstein was a spy? John looked directly at me. Yes. I'm very confident he was working for the Israelis. My heart was racing. Why? He explained. Epstein fits the exact profile of what the CIA calls an access agent. You can't directly recruit someone like Bill Clinton or Prince Andrew or Bill Gates. They're too high profile, too protected, too smart. So you do the next best thing. You recruit someone who has regular access to them, someone who can make them feel comfortable, appreciated, important. You give that person unlimited money, a private island, private jets, and you bring in young girls to compromise these powerful men in situations they can't escape from. Epstein's island had hidden cameras in every single room, every bedroom, every bathroom, every corner of that property was being recorded. Why would he do that unless he was collecting blackmail material? And here's what really convinced John. Only the Israelis and the Russians use sexual extortion as a primary recruitment tool. It's their signature move. But here's the part that broke my brain. When Epstein got caught in 2006 for child sex crimes, he got 6 months of house arrest. 6 months. The mandatory minimum for those crimes is 5 years in federal prison. The prosecutor who gave him that deal? Alex Acosta. He later became Trump's Secretary of Labor. Acosta admitted that he was ordered by the Attorney General to give Epstein the sweetheart deal. And who's the only person in the government who can order the Attorney General to do something? The President of the United States. John believes Epstein was either working for a foreign government or was being protected because he had compromising information on people at the highest levels of American power. Maybe both. But I needed to know what truly kept John up at night. After everything he'd seen, everything he'd done, What actually frightened him? His answer wasn't what I expected.
America is going bankrupt.
He explained, "We're spending ourselves into oblivion while China builds the future. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our airports look like abandoned warehouses. Our roads are falling apart. Meanwhile, China has bullet trains that go 400 miles per hour. Their airports are pristine. Their cities look like they're from the future. Why? Because they decided to spend their money on their country instead of on endless wars and weapons. We can't keep up this pace. We're the richest country in human history, and we can't afford to fix our own roads. Something has to give, and John believes it will." After prison, John's life completely fell apart. 2 divorces, unemployable as a convicted felon, barely making rent. He told me he struggled with depression his entire life, but after everything he'd been through, he couldn't even get out of bed some days. He felt like a complete failure, a loser in his 50s, with nothing to show for his sacrifices. I have a closing tradition on my podcast. The last guest leaves a question for the next. The question left for John was, what's something you stopped doing that improved your life more than anything you started? His answer hit me hard. Feeling sorry for myself. He said he spent months drowning in self-pity, thinking about everything he'd lost, everything that had been taken from him. Then one day he said to himself, "What's wrong with you? You don't have to answer to anybody anymore. You're free. So stop feeling sorry for yourself and do something about it." He started writing. He launched 3 podcasts. He got 2 newspaper columns syndicated in 212 small town papers across America. He wrote books. He started appearing on TV as a commentator. He rebuilt his entire life on his own terms, and he's never looked back. In December 2014, Senators John McCain and Dianne Feinstein passed the Anti-Torture Amendment into law, banning torture permanently in the United States. John McCain stood on the Senate floor and said, "If John Kiriakou hadn't told the American people the truth about what was being done in their name, we would never have known. This law exists because of his courage." John is still waiting for a presidential pardon. His name is in the system. He has high-level supporters advocating for him. But he told me something I'll never forget. Even if I never get pardoned, I'd still do it all again, because some truths are worth any price. Before I sat down with John Kiriakou, I thought I understood how the world worked. I thought my devices were secure. I thought the people around me were who they said they were. I thought powerful people who committed crimes got punished. I was wrong about everything. Your devices aren't secure. Your conversations aren't private. There are 50,000 spies in America, and you probably meet one every year without knowing it. The CIA can crash your car. Your TV is listening. Sleeper agents are teaching your kids. And the people who tell the truth? They go to prison. On John's very first day at the CIA, they gave him one piece of advice. Don't ever say or do anything you'd be ashamed to see on the front page of the Washington Post. That's the lesson from a man who went to prison for 23 months because he refused to stay silent when his country was committing torture. After this conversation, I'll never see the world the same way again, and neither will you.